Yo guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you guys a bit about the end game of Palworld. I have a bunch of tips and tricks today for you guys, all regarding like mid to late game. Hopefully you'll find them interesting. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for my first tip, let's talk about the 3 most influential pals in the entire game. These pals are great because they can just be supporters and they don't need to even be on field. So they're more or less the cornerstone of what you'll find for every single build in the entire game. First off, let's start off with Orzerk. So of course, Orzerk is one of the best electricity generating pals in the entire game, and he can pretty much solo carry your power needs once you get the ancient power generator by himself. But the real reason why he's so important endgame is actually because of his partner skill. Orzerk is the most important pal to have on your team for any team that's going to be doing pal based damage. The reason why he's so overpowered is because his partner skill gives the pal on field a 150% attack and 150% defense. Now, the way that that works is a stacking buff for attacks against enemies, and yes, this does proc based off of drones and also Terror Prism. So you can basically use those two to automatically keep this buff up with 100% uptime for your pal on the field. I actually have a short on my channel showing a different Orzerk that was specifically built to maximize its damage, going from 4,800 attack to 8,600 attack with just this buff alone. No food, no other buff, nothing. It almost doubles the attack of your pal on the field, and that's just an insane buff. And that's not even mentioning the fact that it buffs your defense as well. Then we also have Silver Aegis. So Silver Aegis, I think, is one of the most important, if not the most important pal in the entire game because of how much defensive stat he gives you. Even if you have a pal-based team, you could very easily slot him in and give yourself a huge amount of survivability. His partner skill reduces the delay on the regeneration of your shield after it takes damage, which means you'll be regenerating your shield a lot faster. On top of that, any damage that your shield takes, it's going to take 80% reduced damage. This is a massive boost to your overall survivability. Not only are you going to have more uptime on your shield, but it's going to take a significantly larger amount of damage before it does end up breaking. And then we have Selena. So Selena here is just your basic attack buff for yourself. You get 80% attack if all the pals in your team are different. And I think the easiest way to think about that is to look at their passives and see if their passive has a different name. If it does, you're good to go. So don't worry too much about like if they're the same subspecies or not. And then honorary mention, I know you guys have probably seen this a lot on my channel, but Prixter I think is one of the most influential pals as well, although not a lot of people are using it yet. I'm sure this will grow in the future, but Prixter gives you 65% damage bonus for you and your pals when attacking a poisoned enemy, and poison is the only debuff that you can keep up with 100% uptime in the entire game. The rest of them fall off significantly after other applications. Go check out my status debuff video if you want to learn more about this stuff. So he can give you 65% additional damage, and you can breed poison fog onto him, meaning that he can do this for you by himself. And it's a massive boost to your team by just having one pal being able to give you 65% bonus damage. Now, another tip I want to mention to you guys is about breeding abilities. So I have made a short on this in the past, but the basic idea is you can actually breed abilities into your pals. Notice how my Celine here has the double blizzard spike, which is not something that you can be given via a fruit. You have to have bred this ability into Celine, so she can use this to take out dragons, which she would normally be weak against. On top of that, it is a very powerful move, and in her case, she actually got this from, I believe, Frost Stallion when I was breeding her originally. Doing this is actually pretty easy. The way that it works is whenever a child pal is bred, it will take one of the abilities from its parent, and so in order to make it the best odds possible, like let's say I want to pass on the double blizzard spike again, I would just go ahead and take off Blizzard Spike and Holy Burst and then allow it to just give this a 50% rate. Because each parent has one ability, it does mean that it will be a 50-50 chance. This at least makes it a 50-50 instead of a 1 in 6 chance when both parents have 3 active abilities. So if we take a look around my breeding base, you might notice some of these merchants are pretty unique in a lot of different ways. You might notice that we have Dr. Braun, and we have the Metal Merchant, and we have Zoe, who's right over here. So the reason for that is because when you go to a place like this where the desolate church is, right? or right down here, the small settlement. These vendors are supposed to be here. And so when you do a server restart, it respawns them. So right before the server reset last night, I actually went and caught the metal merchant here, who's the dog coin merchant, so that way I could have him in the base. And then also Zoe, which is how she ended up there as well. I've caught the item merchant from the small settlement, and again, that's why he's in my base as well. To really take advantage of this, you really do need to know when your server is going to reset so you don't bother those around you. Okay, so the next tip that I have for you guys is going to be about farming legendary treasure maps. So you can use this to get all kinds of stuff. I've gotten like legendary drone launchers and many other weapons and armor from doing this, so I highly recommend doing this. It's very easy to do and takes almost no effort whatsoever once you get high level. So if we go to Faybreak on the map over here, in the upper left hand corner above this little peninsula right here, roughly right about here or so, you're going to be able to find a outpost. Now this outpost is going to be the same layout as the one in the bottom right hand corner. Let me show you really quickly how to loot said outpost. Okay, so once we teleport over here again onto the peninsula, there is actually a skill fruit tree right back here. You can see from the teleporter right there that you can go and hit as well. But if you just pretty much go straight out from the peninsula here, you'll be able to find the outpost that we're looking for. And you'll notice where it is when it starts spawning in like this. Now, if you go fast enough here, you can actually go in and not really have to fight anything and be able to loot it. So we just go over here to this door, and then we go back here. We can break this wall right here, and then we just loot right here, and this will give us the legendary treasure map. When you use that, it will actually put a legendary treasure map on your map, and you'll be able to see that when we go over here, we'll actually get a legendary treasure. Now, a little side note that I'll add too is you can actually go back over this way. You can actually use this little cheaty method to get more of the peaches if you want, by just going and dropping down here. This takes you directly to the top of the tower. You can go in here and free the pal. But you can basically do the same thing on the opposite corner over here. If you look on the map, it's just out here. So basically just east of the Azure main on the map. And then in this bottom left-hand corner, there's actually a boat that you can get, and I'll show you how to loot that next. Okay, so now we've teleported out to the bottom left-hand corner now. You can see there's another skill fruit tree just at the end of this peninsula. And then there's another thing if we go straight out from that. So this is that skill fruit tree. And then pretty much just go straight out from here and you'll be able to find, yep, starts loading in early. This is going to be a boat this time. So it's going to be looking a little bit different, but same kind of idea. If you do kind of go quickly, you can get there before the enemies load and not really have to worry about them too much. But once you go into here, we start going down into the basement area. And then right in here, there is the treasure in the back. You can also pick up the pal here if you want the extra like peaches or whatever. It's kind of up to you. So the final one that I'll show you guys here is actually in Sakurajima. Right up here, it's basically the bottom left hand corner of the grassy area in Sakurajima. We can just go to this TP right here, and then you can already see the base as soon as you spawn in at the TP point. It's loading in, and we'll just fly up to the top here. Just land on the top roof here, and you'll be able to walk straight in on this left hand door. Keep going straight, open this door, go downstairs. And then right in here, there will be another treasure chest, giving us another opportunity for an ancient treasure map. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I got one this time around from that one, but we did get the Yakumo statue schematic, which is cool if you're looking for some of those. Also, if you drop down here, you'll be able to get this skill fruit tree right here as well. And then we'll go ahead and dig up each of these and see what we get. Okay, very cool. Level 4 Hexalite armor and 3 farming books. Pretty good, not bad. And for our second dig, what are we going to get? Okay, another 3 farming books. We are getting fruits for this too, so not too bad. Hexalite armor, not so good there, unfortunately. And then for our final one, we got, okay, not too great this time around. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know this already, but when it does come to PAL souls, sometimes it can get pretty expensive, especially when it costs you 30 giant PAL souls just to level up one aspect of a new PAL. If you guys haven't come across this information already, one PAL in particular actually does drop giant PAL souls, which you can then condense down to get the other materials that you need. So you can breed this using the ancient hatchery, which is also very, very quick and something I would definitely recommend making right away as soon as you can. But if you go and you actually butcher a pal like I drawn here, we'll be able to see that not only do we get thermal cores, but also giant pal soul. Now, again, this stat does change based on what your actual drop rates are for your server, but either way, iDrawn is still going to give you thermal cores and giant pal souls. And you can make that even better by giving them lavish hospitality and service minded. So you've probably seen this by now, but just to double check, we do actually understand more about the Sekhmet bug or maybe intended use. But the way that it works is that Sekhmet's passive is basically always active whenever she's working on something in your base. It doesn't actually matter at all if Anubis is working beside her or not. She can work on something alone. As long as she's working on something in your base, it's good enough. And the way that this works is actually related to her being an alpha specifically. So if she is an alpha, she can get ridiculous work speed just like this. You can see that passive skill bonus is 615%. 400 of that percent is coming from her passive, which is what makes her the best handiwork pal in the entire game. It also makes her the best miner in the game as well. And in general, she can even go higher than this. I have Insomnia right now, but you obviously don't have to run Insomnia, especially if you play on a single player world where you can sleep. You can make this even better. But yeah, she has incredible work speed, and of course using books you can pump up her other stats as well. It's really up to you, but I highly recommend getting a few of the alpha Sekhmets into your base so that way they can handle all of your needs, whether it be mining or handiwork or whatever. Another tip here is going to be using the ancient hatcheries. I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but the breeding rate is insane. Both of these pals have philanthropists, and I'm just working on leveling up some of my team here. I'm making a melee based team, and so I need to get to condense level 5 on all of these pals. And so, yeah, look how incredibly fast this is to do. You get all of these different pals very quickly, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to condense and make any other teams that you want to try out. Don't forget that it is still worth it to have a proper breeding team. None of this stuff works with the ancient hatchery, but it's still important to be able to farm alphas for your team because alphas do have a 20% HP boost. So if they're going to be on the field, they probably will want to survive a little bit better. Grintail here will give you a 75% chance of getting an additional pal egg. Again, makes condensing that much easier. Also gives you more opportunities to try and roll different IVs. From what I can tell, the actual passives themselves will remain the same on both pairs of eggs when this does proc, but the actual IVs seem to be different, at least in my experience, I think. And then we also have Bronze Cherry Aqua, who gives 55% chance of becoming an alpha pal egg, and then Bronze Cherry, which gives 45%, adding up to 100% chance of getting an alpha egg. Definitely worth having in your back pocket, even at this stage in the game, because like I said, if they're on that field, that 20% HP boost is nice. Another tip I have for you guys too is don't be too afraid to try something different. If you have a pal that you want to try different passive on, you can still go ahead and just drop them into your Global Palbox here. Let's take my Lavender here. This is the Lavender that I've been using for my Immortal build. If I want to just go ahead and throw it in here, boom, it's in the Palbox. And then I can go ahead and try something different. Let's say instead of Impatient, what if I wanted to try giving her a little more damage? Let's say I wanted to try something like Twin Edge Holy Blade like this. Boom, we can go ahead and try that. And then if we do like it, we can keep it and we can re-upload it into the Palbox. If you don't like it and you feel like it's not as good as you wanted it to be, you can always pull it back down from the Palbox. So use the Palbox as a kind of backup if you need to. Don't be afraid to try things. Now, once you get to endgame, you probably have a lot of this stuff unlocked already, but there's a reason why you should actually go through and do even more. So for example, I have done all of this for my handiwork, and so there's not really a whole lot of value I get out of being this far into the game and upgrading this side of the tree. However, once we start looking at this, you can see that we can upgrade the defense of our base pals by a certain percentage and the attack of our base pals by a percentage as well. This is handy because when you do raids, whether they be in your own base or in the spawned in base, you still have the opportunity to use your base pals. And so this is going to affect them when you're trying to do the raid. I highly recommend doing this and getting the most out of the pals that you summon to help you with those raids. While we are talking about the PAL Labor Research Lab, don't forget too that the level 2 of all of these different researches on the left-hand side will give you access to an actual item in the world. And once you build that item, you can actually get a bonus benefit to the pals in your base. For example, this is the Handyman Toolbox that upgrades our handiwork speed for all the pals in the base. Again, something that you'll definitely want to have. Don't forget though, you actually do need to find it in the tech tree and unlock it. Once you have it unlocked in the PAL Labor Research, you'll be able to buy it here, and then you can actually build it in your base. Don't forget that the memory wiping medicine does exist as well. If for whatever reason you want to reset your stats, on my server, the people that I'm playing with decided that they didn't want to deal with weight anymore. And so we don't need those points in the weight limit anymore, and we can just use this and we put it into HP instead. And boom, we went from like 8,000 HP to 12,000 HP. This also is really great for anyone who messed up some of their early game points. I know a bunch of people I've talked to said that they put a bunch of early points into work speed. I would never ever recommend that to anyone who's playing the game. If you're playing with weight limit, use weight limit early game, use stamina, and use attack or HP, but never ever work speed. You will always hit a point in your progression for this game where work speed is completely worthless. When trying to min-max your base, you might be tempted to think that it would be worth it to make all of these ancient pal beds when your pals are all either dark or running insomnia like many people do, so that way they can work throughout the night. There's not really a reason to have that many high quality beds. As long as you meet the bed requirement, you're good to go. I'm gonna be honest with you, most of this is just about the space. Since we have the 50 pal limit to try and limit the actual number of bases that people use on a multiplayer server, the pal pod is just more space efficient than the ancient pal bed. The ancient pal bed feels like it takes up a lot of space, and if I was to put 50 of those on this rooftop, it would be a pretty insane amount of space requirement. Not that I couldn't fit it, it's just that it looks a lot nicer, I feel like, without it. And again, there's not really a ton of benefit to it. You can even use the fluffy pal beds if you want to. Occasionally, pals will actually come over and take a nap in this area, but it's pretty few and far between. And so even when I do come up here and someone is napping, there's only like 1 or 2 people napping at a time. You don't really need to care about the pal bed recovery. When it comes to what to feed your pal, the minestrone here is going to be the best food for increasing the work speed of your pals. So highly recommend making that. It takes tomatoes, carrots, onions, and potatoes. So you don't actually need to use the lettuce or berries if you don't want to. However, you do need lettuce for the vegetable cake. Berries are also needed for the Mamoresque curry if you're going to be building up your attack for like a big raid or a boss or something, so you do want some access to those red berries. Don't forget that you can use any of these monitoring stands in various locations of your base to change the work preferences for your team. See how there's a lot of them that I actually have turned off altogether. So for example, I don't really want a Cinemoth here trying to do any of the medicine stuff. It's just not beneficial for me for a level 4 medicine at this point to work. I have several level 10 medicines and I'd rather have them do the work instead. Vice versa, you can also go through and actually make pals that are specifically for different things. So for example here, I have my Bella Noirs that I've set up. Because they're very small, I like using them for transport specifically, so I gave them a bunch of movement speed related buffs. Work speed doesn't change your transport speed or anything like that, so I'm using these two as my pure transporters for my entire base at the moment, and they just kind of zip around grabbing things and putting them into chests. It's really nice, it's very helpful, and I feel like it helps keep things not cluttered, which is nice. A lot of the transport pals that I typically use are big flying birds. Sometimes they can get stuck in places like staircases and other issues, and not to mention they're just big birds. And so having a small like humanoid that can kind of handle the same task and going fast at the same time is pretty nice. But that's more of an aesthetic thing rather than like something you actually need to do. Regardless, it is very helpful to be able to know that for these pals, them working on this other stuff isn't really going to work because I have invested significantly into their movement and not their work speed. They're not very good workers. They're just good transporters. All right, well, hopefully you found those tips to be useful. If you guys like the video down below. Comment down below if you think that there's a tip or trick that I should have put on this list or that you just really like. Always happy to hear more from you guys and hear about what kind of things are important to you. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a good one, guys. Peace.